Hello, everybody. So my name is Alex. I work as chief security researcher for a company called Bitdefender. We are based out of Romania, and we have a couple of offices here in the US. I'm going to start with the bad news. Apparently, doing kernel upgrades just before doing your demos is not necessarily the best of ideas. So my wireless driver in my Kali Linux, in my virtual machine that was supposed to be the lab for the whole thing, kind of failed. Thankfully, I do have backups. Knowing that the demo gods are usually against me, I did prepare movies with everything that we've done in the lab. So you're going to see everything. Let me tell you a few things about myself. Amongst other things, I manage the bug bounty program at the company. If you guys feel brave enough, jump in, try your luck. We do pay all of our rewards. I'm also working as, how should I put this, a spokesperson, or if you want to say evangelist for our IoT security project. And I work with several teams that do IoT vulnerability research. Basically, we hack toasters, refrigerators, cameras, and so on and so forth. I'm going to start with a quick email, a short email that I got a few days ago. I was in the States, I come here quite often, and I rented a car, and since it was unregistered, I registered it on my name. Because why not? I put my email address and so on and so forth. And I just got this email from them telling the status of my car. So the rental service didn't change anything in there. And now I can just get status updates on my Chrysler, I think it was. Huh? Yeah. Like mileage, what it's done, where it's been, and so on and so forth. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let me start with my usual speech about IoT. So, IoT is the craziest of things that are happening in this day and age. The way I like to say it is that we used to try and put, NetBSD or Linux on our devices back in the day, attach some display device and something like that back in 2000. And right now, we won't have, or in the near future, we won't have the possibility to purchase something that's not connected. Everything, this mic will be IP connected soon. Those speakers will be IP connected. Actually, there's a number of speakers which already are IP connected. The bottom line is that you will not have the possibility to purchase a device that you used to buy, and it wasn't connected, and you won't have the possibility to buy it without a connection attached to it. So everything becomes smart. And the biggest problem with that right now is that the manufacturers are idiots. And I'm being very nice now. Trust me. Everybody insists on putting their own operating system. And when I say their own, I mean a 10-year-old busy box with everything that's in it, instead of using some sort of standards. I mean, Google put up Brillo, which is an operating system for IoT. Amazon has put up Amazon IoT Cloud infrastructure, and nobody is using them. Now, these devices were not chosen, by accident. Each one of them we've tested, except for the yoga mat and the portable fish finder, because those are my favorite. Each one of the others has some sort of vulnerability in them. And this is the one that we're going to show today, the power outlet. The Barbie doll, I don't know if you read about it. Some guys managed to actually hack through the cloud into the Barbie doll and talk to the kid in the house. So it's like an educational doll where you would, teach the kid math, do geography, English, and all that stuff. It would talk to the kid. Daughter, probably. But at some point, all that stuff comes from their cloud, and if you can hijack that stream one way or another, the guys were able to, talk to the kids some nasty things. So, one other thing, I wanted to put this in. There's even, the IoT space is so crazy that there's even such a thing as I've come to realize, how should I put it? Smart drugs. I know you've probably heard of a plant called marijuana. It's popular here in the US, right? Yeah. So I was at this conference, this event by these IoT vendors, and a lot of, makers of IoT, a lot of hardware vendors, and these guys had a device that you would stick to your head, and it would talk with a mobile application that would synchronize with their cloud, and it would control your mind. The way they presented it was that it would make you more calm or more energetic. And it's actually on sale right now. So, yeah. It's called Think. And when I put it on, I said that, well, I'm a calm person, usually, so I turned it up to more energetic. And, well, it had the dial, and you could turn it 1, 2, 3. When I got to 4.5, I felt like this cold shiver down my spine, and I blacked out. So I fell, I took it off, I threw it on the ground, and I was like, the hell, man? That's some heavy shit right here. Yeah, and these guys are selling this stuff. And I was thinking some Kingsman scenario where you would, try to hack into their cloud and then, control all the mobile devices that control the thing and fry everybody's brains out. And shockingly enough, it seems like a plausible scenario. It's scary as hell, man. So, let me go very quick through the most common issues that we've seen in IoT. Mirai. Yeah, this is Mirai. You are familiar with the Mirai botnet, right? So, we've seen a plethora of devices that come with telnet open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the thing is not documented in the manual. So you have a mobile application, you set a password on the device for the mobile application to talk to the device, but it also has a telnet port open that nobody tells you about. As a fun fact, you can see this very handsome guy taking a picture of himself with a security system, with a coffee shop security system. Because admin, and elite hacker skills. The problem with encryption, somebody brought it up yesterday, is that some of them use obfuscation instead of encryption. Probably because of limitations in the hardware, but it's very easily reversible, as we're going to see in not in the demos, but in another presentation. Command injection. Well, yeah, these are some of those common vulnerabilities that you find in application. We're going to detail a bit about it when we talk about this. But basically, we've seen in a number of devices stuff like this. So you have HTTP, IP address, and they'll file CGI, name equals something, and this is parsed by the system, so you can, do semicolon reboot or semicolon telnet D and whatnot. Or any other command which is supported by that operating system. Okay, another thing, very old services. We have a product that actually does IoT security, and it also does some sort of vulnerability assessment on those devices, a home user product. And we've gathered some reports, and we've seen devices with as much as 300 vulnerabilities per one device. Why? Because it was a very new device, no more than 2 years old. But the operating system on it was 10-year-old BusyBox, 10-year-old HTTPD, 10-year-old FTP server, and so on and so forth. And, in 10 years, you can gather a lot of vulnerabilities in one service. So that thing had about 3 services exposed with all the vulnerabilities gathered in 10 years. Wi-Fi configuration hotspots, basically many devices create a Wi-Fi hotspot in the initial setup. Not all of them turn it off afterwards. We've seen a smart doorbell that the way you can kick off you can initialize that hotspot. You press the doorbell 5 seconds. So basically, an attacker can come to your door, press the doorbell for 5 seconds. Nothing is heard inside, so there's no notification on the mobile app, nothing. And then the hotspot kicks in. You can connect to it, and then you can telnet into the doorbell because it had a telnet open. as well, and get the Wi-Fi password of that home network. Bad UX on firmware updates. We're going to show this in the last slide. It's about, unless your name is Nest or whatever Google application or Amazon or somebody that's a very big company, most other companies are very bad when it comes to updating the firmware on their devices. It's not intuitive, it's not automatic, it's not even mobile friendly, even though they're managed by a mobile application. It forces the user to go to a download website, download the firmware, and then have the skills and patience to actually run some magic to put that firmware on the device. It's quite terrible. Anyway, back to the topic of the day. This is a power outlet from Edimax. It's very cool. It enables you to remotely turn on and off the power. It also enables you to have scheduled sessions where you would say, I want the power turned on between those hours. It enables you to have email notifications. You would put in your email address, and you would get email notifications whenever something happened with the power outlet. It's a very convenient tool. Another thing that it does, the most common use case is that people use their air conditioners plugged into it, and instead of keeping the air conditioner turned on the entire day, before you leave work, 15 minutes before you get home, you turn on the power outlet, and there you go. You save some power. I've looked it up actually yesterday evening. It had about 60 reviews on Amazon, all positive. So there's a lot of people using this thing. And if you ask me, it's one of those very cool gadgets that you would want to buy and put into your house. This is me before we started to look at it. And this is the culprit here. So, how does it work? You put it into, you plug the power in the power. You open up the mobile application. The mobile application finds a hotspot that the power outlet creates, connects to it. You enter the wireless password and your wireless network. The power outlet stores them. And then it works. You can, remotely manage it. That's the default setup. Now, since it has the option to send emails, and they're probably afraid that they're going to, be blocked by spam filters, they're asking you for your email and password so they can use your SMTP server. Now, I don't know how many of you think this is a good idea, especially since you can imagine they're stored in plain text. But that's not the biggest problem, trust me. But the bottom line is, you put it in, you set it up, you put your Wi-Fi password, you put your email password on it, and everything is okay. And then you start managing it. So, we started to look at the way it behaved. We saw that it sends a quick broadcast, and it sends a few clear text packages, and then it kicks in a connection to Google to check its connectivity. If that connection fails, the power outlet fails. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, after it does that, it says, hello, I'm alive to edimax.com. In that packet, it's an XML file, it sends a few information about itself. This is me, this is my MAC address, and that's actually the most important thing to remember. This is me, this is my MAC address, this is where I am. Sometimes it sends more information like, this is my IP address, I'm okay, register me. And, and an important thing to mention is that the device enters a loop with Edimax via UDP to keep a connection open in the connection track table for NAT. So basically this enables it to keep a connection upwards with Edimax, even if it's UDP, and also receive something like push notifications from Edimax, even though it's behind NAT. What else? It has a quick, small HTTP server that allows the application, to talk to it. It's what it uses to communicate with the outside world. And in the initial launch error that we noticed, we saw this. And that is actually, we found that there's a password associated with the power outlet, something that was not in the documentation. And that is, of course, admin1234. And this is actually the point where it all goes to hell with the thing. Because this admin 1234 is actually going to be the key behind everything that we're going to do. This in the MAC address. So, it says, hello Edimax, I'm here, this is me, this is my IP address, and also this is my password. It hashes its own credentials, and any command that it receives will be checked against those credentials. Okay. Edimax says, okay, this is you, right? And just so you know, this is a relay, which is the cloud, and then there's the mobile application at that IP address that wants to talk to you. So you see that 89, 122, 158, 176, that's the mobile app trying to communicate with the power outlet. So what happens here? Oh, very important, you see this authentication value. So the cloud sends a hash to the power outlet saying, and the mobile application comes to you with this hash, right? And then the power outlet hashes its own credentials, and if the hashes match, then the communication is established, and the cloud relays some sort of a tunnel, virtual tunnel, if you will, between the two. Okay. This is basically the same thing. Next. So, the first thing that we tried to do was to impersonate a mobile application, to try to send a command to the power outlet and tell it to turn off and on. We realized that, oh, and also, I'm sorry, this is a bit, I'm a bit, how should I put this? No coffee, and I've been trying the whole morning to set up the demo, and the fact that it failed kind of, messed me up. Okay. So, any interaction with the app triggers the device to send back a full status and information about it. And this is very important because, let me try to show something here. Mirror. I do have a packet captured already. Come on. So I hope that you can see this. Okay, so this is an ASCII dump, a raw dump, sorry, from Wireshark of what that packet looks like. The initial packet that the power outlet sends, when it initially boots up. We looked at it and we realized that it's as simple as bit flipping. So it's just a few bits that are flipped, and when you decode it, you can plainly see everything that's here. And actually the worst part of it is that it sends this. So if there's anybody that has difficulty seeing, let me know because I can zoom in. So oh, sorry, this is BSD. There you go. So yeah, that's the base 64 of the email address of this email address, which is in plain text. So basically, what it does, when the application tries to talk to it, it sends a full status to their cloud saying, this is me, this is my configuration, and this is what I'm doing right now. And that configuration includes your email and password, which you've set because you want to receive email reports. And again, they've asked for the password and the email because they want to use your SMTP server. The problem is that the encryption thing that they're using is just obfuscation. It doesn't look like much when you initially see it on the wire. It's not using a standard port like port 80 or port 443. It's port 7000 something, and it looks like garbage, but it took us like 15 minutes to figure out what it actually was and reverse it and, create this script that you can actually decrypt things on the fly if you're, brave enough. So yeah, if you have this thing in your house, anybody that sniffs around can see your email password. Onwards. We can also turn it on and off. Let me see if I can find the movie. Okay, in order to turn it on and off, the prerequisites are the device's MAC address and that password that we've mentioned. I think I should specify that if you look hard enough, like 5 clicks away in the advanced settings, there is a password input field in the mobile application, and you can only see some stars there. And you can change that password. But as it turns out, nobody actually does because nobody knows that field exists, and nobody bothers to do it. So if you have the MAC address of the power outlet and this password, which usually people don't change, you can actually turn it off and on using this very simple string. You send power state on, and it works. So as I was saying, I came prepared. This is a movie of another demo done with this power outlet. On the right hand, you see a lamp plugged into it in Romania, and on the left-hand side, you see me in Beijing on stage doing the thing. So, there you go. And you can actually do this to all power outlets from this vendor, so it's kind of cool. Now, we've seen that we can, and the schedule on off can trigger notifications to the owner, blah. Yeah, we've seen this. Oh, and this is how the wire share capture looks like. So, arguably, initially you would say that, it doesn't look like much, you cannot decode it, but it's quite easy, actually. So, we can sniff and decrypt data. We can turn it off and on. But what's better than that? Right. So, we didn't want to stop at just, seeing whether or not it can be turned on and off. So what we did is we hijacked an update of the firmware, and we got the firmware, and we bin-walked it, and we looked into it. And yeah, if you run system commands with receive data, you may have a bad time. Now, if there are any questions so far. Okay, so this is the way one-word agent binaries look. So the way what it does is, remember I told you it hashes its own credentials? This is what it does. It's, let me try to find my mouse. There we go. Wrong. This is the magic. So, echo -n, username, password, pipe, MD5 sum. Now, if you send, you can remotely change the password of the device. So if you set the password to ABC semicolon reboot, the moment it's going to do this echo -n admin column ABC semicolon reboot, is going to execute my command. So the only problem that we had with this was that, okay, we could start telnet, which was fine. We successfully started it, but that didn't feel like an actual remote code execution because it was proximity based, right? We would have to be in the same network to telnet into it. So we wanted a connect back shell, right? So there's a big limitation here. The password cannot be bigger than 32 characters. So when you set that password with the command injection, with the semicolon, it cannot be bigger than 32 characters. And also, it's busybox. So if being busybox on MIPS little endian, you don't have a lot of commands available. So what can you do in 32 characters? Well, we registered a two-letter domain. And we found the command sequence that fits. So this is it. It's actually 30 characters. It's semicolon, go to TMP, FTP get, A, and then you have to say the downloaded file name, A, and execute A. And A looks like this. It resets the password back to its old self, and then it fetches a Metasploit payload, executes it, and sends you back your shell. Basically, in A, we can have as much as we want. The whole point was getting that 30 string in order to enable the command execution on the device. Within A, we can have, thousands of lines of code. It's okay. So, movies to the rescue. Again, this is from the Beijing demo. Let me just step out of the way. So, this is the payload from Metasploit. It's a standard reverse shell made for MIPS little endian. This is the command. It has to be base 64 when you send it over. And we send the command to their cloud. Now, what happens here is that we're telling their cloud that we want to change the password on the device. And thankfully, their cloud is very polite, and it tells us whether or not the connection was properly established. It gives us feedback on each step of the way, and it tells us, the command was successful, and we thank it. So here we monitor the FTP server to see when the power outlet connects to us, and in order to fetch the script. And we get nervous because it takes a while. But there it is. It gets A, executes it instantly, and then it fetches, hang on. Okay, I'm sorry about this. Apparently, there's no fast forward on this. So we're going to have to see this just one more time. Okay. Start the exploit. Monitor the FTP server. I just wanted to show you the two connections made to the FTP server. Initially, it got the first script, then immediately afterwards, the script got executed and downloaded the Metasploit payload. One more. Fucking shit. Anyway. And we got a shell. With this shell open, the only challenge, and actually, if you guys can help with this, it would be highly appreciated, was what we can do, in I think it's less than 5 megs of space on it. So we wanted to do some pivoting, we wanted to do some other attacks. Eventually we're going to end up writing an agent that's like less than 1 meg big that's going to give us a tunnel, but that's for future development. But what we're showing is that we can get the Wi-Fi password. We're showing that the power outlet is indeed on LAN. It has a private IP address, no direct connection from the internet. And you can do basically everything that you want. You are root, and you have full admin powers on it. So, a fun thing that a friend told me was that, and I only realized it after the presentation, was that you can actually gift this to people. So if you're red teaming, you can take this. Here's a gift from us, you know. You can put it in your data center or whatnot. And yeah, they're going to be none the wiser. It's actually a viable scenario. So, IoT attacks are very difficult to defend against, mainly because you have no idea they're there. I mean, you're running your red teams, your pen tests, your whatnots, and maybe you're doing them on your PBXs and your IP phones and probably your smart TVs because you know that they're smart, but there's God knows how many devices either in your company or your house that are connected and you forgot about them and something like that. And the challenge is that there's only now security solutions for IoT are starting to pop up based on either anomaly detection or different other mechanisms. It's, you know, it's an emerging market right now for IoT security. And without a solution like that, there's literally nothing you can do. We actually played a joke on a friend. He said that, so what if you can turn off my lights? He had some, you know, smart light bulbs, whatnots. And they had a thing they would talk unauthenticated if you just use some proper strings in their in that communication. You know, it happens. Nobody's perfect. And he said, so what if you can turn off my lights? So we went to his place at 10 p.m. and we started messing with his lights. And eventually, after about 15 minutes, he got out and he called me, and motherfucker, I know it's you. Cut it out. And then so how did that make you feel? And he said, well, quite powerless, because the only thing that I could have done was turn off the power or take out the light bulb, but then I would be in the dark anyway. So there was literally, he felt like powerless to defend against anything that would come his way. So it's quite tricky. As we've seen, it can lead to full network compromise. If it runs Linux, actually we're at that stage where Linux is worse than Windows. You know, because on Windows, they're actually installing antivirus solutions. So ATMs with Windows have antivirus installed on them, you know. ATMs with Linux don't. So if it runs Linux and if it's a smart device, there's a good chance that it can be compromised. If it has cloud, it can be compromised remotely. So it can lead, you can use it to pivot and lead to a full network compromise. And as we've seen, IoT botnets. Now, Mirai and Hajime, which was his successor, and there's another version, we call it Mole. We trapped it with our honeypots. It's a happy scenario because, you know, it only telnets or gets into devices which have port forwarding enabled or that are directly exposed in the internet. Once these types of exploits start to come out, you're going to see botnets that exploit devices which are behind firewalls, which are significantly in larger numbers than, I don't know, whatever camera, IP camera, which is, you know, directly exposed. And it's very scary because these devices, again, devices that are behind firewalls, not exposed, are so many right now. People say, I'm behind NAT. I don't care. You know, I'm in my little small area network. Nobody can do anything to me. Well, if it talks to a cloud, if it has any kind of communication with the outside world, there's the possibility of doing command injection in that. Okay, bonus slides. While we were, you know, preparing the demo, we saw this screen. And we're like, shit. Okay, and the really screwed up part was that you could press nothing but OK on that. And we're like, oh man, those guys at Edimax are badass, man. I mean, look at the balls on these guys. They do not allow the user to skip the upgrade. It fucked up our demos, but props for them. Good job, Edimax. It's awesome. So we're like, okay, we have the movies, we're all good, but okay, and we pressed okay. And this is what happened. Yeah. And unfortunately, as much as we wanted to, we couldn't do the upgrade. Yeah. So, takeaways. Hacking IoT devices is significantly easier than hacking PCs, especially because there's no countermeasures implemented into them, unless, like 10%, I'm being generous here, 5% of the smart devices that we've seen are actually responsibly designed, and it's mostly Google, Amazon, and Apple. Many users, and this is actually the biggest problem, when you purchase a smart device, and we're not encouraging people to stop purchasing smart devices. I mean, there are some that say, okay, I'm going to go under a rock, and I'm not going to buy anything that's smart, even though I still have a tablet, a mobile phone, maybe a smartwatch, and a computer, and a router, and a set-top box for my TV. And who else, what else? People should buy smart devices because they're cool, they make our lives easier, but they should come to people like us to test the security of those devices. And my guess is that one way or another, if not from us, the company that I represent, or from somebody else, everybody's going to start buying IoT security devices. So it's going to be just like antivirus, like traditional antivirus. You're going to get an IoT antivirus or something. And that's it. I would like to thank you, first of all, for having time to, and apologize again for the demos being screwed up. Again, doing upgrades before presentations is not a good idea. Please. So, evil twin. We've seen some coffee makers that do that, actually. So there's a coffee maker that will connect to a network called default. So if you pass by it and you send the authentication packets, and you can force it to connect to, you have a default network popped up, you can force it to connect to your network and extract Wi-Fi credentials from its initial network. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. But then again, you're going to catch a lot of mobile phones before you catch coffee makers. Please.
It looked like your attack, it's use the entire MAC address on the set over now. Edimax has registered first half of the MAC address. Could you technically brute force the second half in a reasonable amount of time?
16 million, about 3 days through Tor. So yeah, you can brute force all the MAC addresses. It's not that many, and you can actually do it through Tor, and you can own the world. It's scary, yeah. Please. No. And let me be very clear. No, we haven't done that. Please. We did tell them. They were open in their communication, even though they barely spoke English. But they said that they're going to publish an update, and they did. Look. We gave them 60 days notice when we initially talked to them, and that was more than 60 days ago. So they did publish an update. It's just that their update interface is shit. So what can you do? Any other questions? Well, we actually do, yeah. It tries to talk to the router, take over the HCP, and then manage the network. If you're a home user, if you get the thing that we're selling, and I don't want to be here selling anything, just it's kind of uncomfortable doing that. But we can talk about it afterwards. Okay, I get the question. So generically speaking, the way this can be mitigated is that either at the router level or an additional device that's plugged into the network will monitor the traffic done from and towards the devices, and then each company develops its own technology. Some people do anomaly detection, where you would see, that your TV talks to Samsung, it's supposed to talk to Samsung, your TV talks to a mobile application using a specific user agent, that should be okay. And then you design that, you do machine learning buzzwords, and you design that, designate that as normal traffic, and whatever you see out of bounds from that normal traffic is suspicious. That's one approach. The other approach would be to actually have something like Snort or Suricata or Bro, and do actual, pretty similar but different technology. Another approach is to do actual preemptive sort of vulnerability assessment. It's one of the things that we're doing. There's a number of methods. It just has to be implemented either at the router level or additional device in the network. So it can be mitigated. Please. I'm sorry, you're going to have to say that louder because it's so important. Please. And when you're saying you mean you, the user? Or the developers from Edimax, you say? Right. Of course, the answer to your question is yes, that would be better. Okay, that's it? Please? You can't blame them for that. I don't think there's only so few companies. We were having this discussion in a different talk yesterday. There's only so few companies that do updates over HTTPS. Most products and most companies do it over HTTP plain and just digitally sign the packets so they're not tampered with. HTTPS is expensive when it comes to downloads. Okay? Then I would like to thank you again. And yeah.